Hey guys, what is up? My name is Luke. Welcome back to the channel. Today is a fun one. We're going to be cleaning the engine on that guy right there. Now that it runs right, now that it turns on every time, we can actually start making this thing look a little prettier, work it towards its surf rig vibe. I don't know, maybe take it down to Malibu and get some waves in with this thing if it'll make it. I think it will. But anyways, in the meantime, we're going to clean the engine. If you guys like this one, hit like, hit subscribe. Let's get to it. Here's my typical kit of parts when I'm cleaning an engine bay. I wanted to show you guys all these different things that you can use as options when you do your own how to clean your engine. If you guys have something that I don't show in my video that works really well for you, leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to see all the other cool things people do to clean their engine. But in the meantime, working from left to right, we'll go over what each of these does, what it is, and why I use it. So the very first thing that I have is a good pair of safety glasses. You'll need these throughout your project, especially if you use a Dremel tool with these wire wheels on it. I use these wire wheels. These are brass to clean aluminum. So it'll pull out all the nasty dirt and everything in the little cracks and crevices. Makes aluminum look very new. If you're on a budget and you don't have a Dremel, you can also use just a steel brush and you kind of get the same effect as well. Once I have all of my aluminum polished, I'll come back through with an actual polish compound. So I've got this Mother's polish, works well for shining anything mag and aluminum. Then when I get to the grit and grime cleaning, the dust cleaning, I'll use this LA's Totally Awesome. It's great for degreasing, just an all-purpose awesome cleaner. Thus the title. It's awesome. Anything that's really hard to get out, I'll use brake cleaner. This works really well for any heavy caked on oils or grime that's just been in the engine forever. And once everything's clean, I'll come back through with this cleaner wax on any of the painted materials. So anything like the underside of the hood, inside of the fenders, anywhere where there's painted body sheet metal. And then when I get to the plastic cleaning, I'll use this Aerospace 303 first, and it'll clean and treat the plastic items in the engine. And then once those are clean and protected, I'll come back through with this Meguiar's Ultimate Black to make them look brand new. So this will make it look from just a flat black to nice and shiny new look. Working from left to right, I have a good set of bottle brushes. So they come in all varieties and shapes and sizes. They are great for cleaning deep down inside the engine where your hands otherwise couldn't get. I have a good set of screwdrivers, so if I need to remove any plastic pieces to get a real deep clean on the motor, I can. I also have a paint pen, so this is great for painting white areas. I'm using white because my motor has a few decals where the white has worn off. Your engine could have yellow, it could have red. They make these in all sorts of colors, but a good tool to make something old look new again. I also have just a general toothbrush. This is great for cleaning the top of plastic parts where the plastic bumps up a little bit. You can really scrub around like an emblem or a decal and get all those really hard to reach small tiny areas clean. I have a good set of dental picks. Come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. I have a good putty knife. So this is great for cleaning any areas on your motor where oil has built up and dust has basically stuck to it, so it creates this big cake-like surface, usually around like a power steering pump or around the oil filler neck on the motor, and so it makes it really easy to scrape all that deposit off of the engine. Then I also have a good set of wire brushes. So I've got a set of copper ones and a set of steel ones. These are good for cleaning metal surfaces. Then I have a set of plastic ones, which are great for cleaning plastic surfaces. And finally, I have all of my different kind of rags of microfiber. I have some scrap rags that will take off the initial like dirt, dust, and oil and grit and grime. These will get thrown away. And then I also have a huge set of microfiber towels. So these are awesome for taking all of the final dust particles off the motor and give it that nice clean shine at the end. Okay guys, here is the car for today. We're using the 4Runner as the cleaning project, and as I look at this motor, you can tell yourself that it is just endlessly dirty. And there's grit and grime, missing paint, all sorts of stuff that is great to get cleaned off here to make it looking nice and new. Battery looks new because we replaced that in our last few videos. Be sure to catch those. I'll leave links below. But in the meantime, we have some work ahead of us. I think this is going to take a couple hours to do today. We'll start with the hood cleaning. So by the time we're done, you'll be able to see those and read those stickers that are on there. But all in all, this is going to be a fun day. So I'm removing the battery first. So I'll take off the negative cable followed by the positive cable. And the reason you want to remove your battery when you're cleaning your engine is so that the system doesn't have power on it. We'll be putting water on the hood initially to try and clean all the dirt and dust off of it. We'll have the engine covered in plastic, but just in case any water gets on it, I don't want any power to the engine causing any short outs or anything that might be a potential problem if it was energized. So right now I'm moving the battery hold down so I can take the battery all the way out of the engine bay. And what that will also do is free up a bunch of space underneath of the battery on the tray and on the inner fender that I can clean as well. Now I'm going to take a painter's drop cloth and cover the motor so that when I wash the underside of the hood, I don't get water on any of the electronic components. So as I'm going along, I want to make sure that anywhere where there's electronic components in the engine, I'm getting full coverage with this plastic drop cloth. We'll tuck it up under the hood and then over the fender on both sides of the car, so that when we're washing the hood, it repels all of the water out away from the engine bay. Cleaning the underside of the hood, I just want to take a normal spray nozzle, set it to the shower feature, and just give the underside of the hood a quick spray. Just to get it wet, and then I'll come back through with the scrub brush and use just basic car wash soap and clean the underside of the hood. I'm just using a standard car wash scrub brush to clean the underside of the hood, so nothing special. Just your typical sponge you'd use to clean any car. And I'll just scrub the bottom of this hood. When cleaning the underside of the hood, just make sure that you use light pressure. Work every little nook and cranny you can find. There's a lot of different angles, areas on a hood that need to be cleaned. So it might take you 3 or 4 times to get all of the actual dirt off of the underside of the hood. It's a hard piece to clean. It gets missed a lot. It gets neglected. But if you do once or twice a really solid clean and wax on it, it'll last you a long time. It'll repel dirt and it'll stay looking new for a long time. You can see a lot of this is just cleaning and re-cleaning the same spots over and over again. I think the whole underside of this hood took me 3 or 4 times, actually just scrubbing it with soap and then coming back and spraying it off, then going back and scrubbing it with more soap and spraying it back off, and just doing that over and over until I was happy with how clean it was. Now that the hood's clean, we can get the water off the drop cloth, so you want to pick it up and make sure the water, look how dirty this is, wicks out away from the engine, and just spill it over the end so you don't get any water on your engine. On this side the water is a little bit deeper, so we'll take just a plastic bottle I cut in half to help take the weight off of this plastic cloth before I make sure to not get any water in the engine bay. This water is gross. It's really dirty. This thing hasn't been cleaned, I don't think, ever, so this is going to be a huge difference in how clean this engine bay is by the time I'm done. I've cleaned some pretty dirty engine bays in my years. This one isn't one of the worst, but it's pretty bad. I don't think it's ever been cleaned. So again, we'll just take our cloth and slowly work in the water over to the edge of the vehicle. I'm making this look a little harder than it needs to be. There we go. Just work it to the edge or to the front. We'll see if we can get it to the front of the vehicle. Okay, just keep working it, and then eventually it'll spill over the front. Looking at the bucket, you can see how dirty that water is just from cleaning the engine bay. It's almost black. So get rid of that stuff. Clean up our bucket. I'll let this thing dry out, and then we'll move on to cleaning the engine itself. This has had ample time to dry. Everything looks good. If you look at the hood, you can still see some dirt spots. This has been dirty for a long time, so it's going to be hard to get clean just with the first, second or third wash. What you do to take care of these areas is use some cleaner wax. So applying the cleaner wax by hand will take care of that dirt, but it will also treat the hood. It will wax the inside of the hood, so it'll be protected from the elements. But all in all, the first wash came out awesome. I can read both of the labels that are in this hood. I like how it looks. The next step I'm going to jump to is showing you how to clean this manifold. So the way that I'll clean this will generate dust, so we'll wait to do the wax on this hood so that we don't get this dust on our newly waxed hood. Starting off to clean the manifold, I'm using my Dremel tool with one of the copper wire wheel brushes attached. And you just want to use light pressure on it, and it will take off the top surface, just the dust layer on it. You can see it starting to really polish up. The whole thing goes really quick. You just want to continue using just light pressure, trying to get in all the nooks and crannies. You want to make sure you have your safety glasses on as well. But look how much nicer that looks. Just polishes it right up. And this thing will get as nice as you want it to with as much time as you want to put into it. You can just endlessly put time into these manifolds. You can polish these all the way to a mirror finish. I will show you guys how to do that on a different video. But with this mag and aluminum polish, I use this after the wire wheel brushing, and this will take off all just the dirt deposits that were left in the little tiny cracks you can see there on the rag. Pretty gross. But again, lots of elbow grease, lots of hand polishing these things to make them look really nice. Now that I've done all the work that generates dust, which was the work we were doing on the manifold, I'll go over the whole engine bay, and with my Aerospace 303 cleaner, I'm going to just use my throwaway rags and just do a initial, dusting of the engine. I'll go over every little nook and cranny I can with this material and try and get as much of this dirt, even just touching it takes it off, clean off the engine as possible. So with any of these products, you can just apply them right to your rag and then just wipe them on. You can see how well it cleans and get that much dirt off of it. We'll do another pass on it. I don't know why this is so satisfying, but cleaning stuff is a very satisfying thing when it looks brand new again. So second pass looks that much cleaner. So I'll do this on the whole engine. I'll get my brushes, I'll go over this and brush all these little nooks and crannies on this Toyota symbol or anywhere else. But I'll set up the camera and we'll just do a whole initial clean of the engine. You guys can just watch and see how much better it's going to look, how cool it looks just with this. And then we'll come back over with the final plastic treatment and treat all this stuff. So these little bumped raised letters on the plastic pieces, I'm using a toothbrush to clean. You can see it's a great solution to getting those areas really, really clean where a rag can't get into. Otherwise, I'm just going over this airbox filter housing component of the engine, getting it all spick and span. This will be the first part that we clean on the motor. And it's turned out pretty good so far, just with the initial clean. Here in the shot, I'm working on the upper radiator hose, so we're polishing all the dirt and dust off of those. It's good to treat all the hoses with this cleaner because it will help get moisture into them. It'll prevent them from cracking and just aging prematurely. Now I'm also working on the upper components of the air intake for the system and just going over every little nook and cranny I can find. You can see how much dust is on this thing. It is really caked on there. Look at that thing. Here I'm cleaning the top of the fan shroud. So getting every single piece of plastic I can. Again, going over and over again pieces that I've already cleaned. It takes a lot. This engine was really dirty. And it's gonna take, I don't know, this will probably take 2 or 3 times to really get everything totally treated, but this first time, the first clean always looks the best. Working down towards the mass airflow sensor, getting all these little parts as clean as possible, just every little inch of this thing working it over to make it look nice and shiny, get all the dirt and dust out of it. So moving over to the timing belt cover. This thing has been pretty dry for a long time. All of these parts, you can tell, just are very brittle. A lot of the stuff I touched, like these pipes, like this vacuum hose, cracked. A lot of it's just seen a lot of hot weather. This thing was sitting out in the Mojave Desert, so a lot of high temperatures, a lot of wear and tear on this whole thing with the desert dust and all the heat and just not being treated. Took its toll on a lot of these things, but most of the time you can just add these treatments and they'll re-moisturize all the plastics, and you'll only have to replace a few things. Generally the vacuum lines are the first things to go. So here I am working on more of the air intake. So this bellow section, I'm using a toothbrush, just going over it, getting everything into these fine little cracks. And meanwhile, always inspecting all the parts to see how well they're holding up. See, this is not supposed to be there, a little piece of electrical tape. Not sure why that's there. I'll have to take that part off the truck and actually see what's going on. But yeah, this toothbrush works great. These parts on the air intake system have a lot of bellows, so it's super hard to clean with just a rag. So if you have a nice brush, you have a toothbrush, it makes it a lot easier to get into each of those cracks. Here I'm cleaning the airbox, and I was noticing that the lid wasn't fitting correctly, so I lifted it up and just started cleaning everything on the inside of it. I figured out that the reason the lid wasn't closing was because the air filter that was in there was the incorrect one for this engine, and so the wrong size wouldn't let the lid close. So I'll need to be replacing that here in one of the upcoming videos. But when you're cleaning your engine, it's a good time. You can actually open these boxes, pull out the filter, and take out all the dust that's inside. So the system's that much cleaner when it's pulling air into the motor. You can take a moment and get all that dust out. Moving over to the window washer reservoir, you can see all the raised lettering on top of the filler neck. So toothbrush is a great tool to use again on all this raised lettering on plastics. Makes it really easy to clean. The toothbrush gets used a lot. It was 80 cents, just like an Albertson, super cheap tool, but does an amazing job cleaning these tight little spots. And we'll come back later and I'll show you how the paint pen works. You can see there used to be white marker, white paint on top of all the raised lettering, so we'll come back and make that look new later on in this video. Okay, I'm breaking out the degreaser spray. It's just a soapy water mixture. And this stuff works out great. So I'm using it to clean the spark plug wires. So these things are pretty dingy. You can see it right there. Pretty gross.
and just going along them, pulling out all that dirt. So these things, when they're done, will look nice and bright blue. The writing will be all white. They'll look almost brand new, and you just, you pop off these little plastic things that hold them in place. You just want to be sure that as you're going along, you're not pulling the spark plug wire off of the spark plug. So just be careful with them. But you can just keep going along, cleaning, just moving up and down on them and making sure you get all the dirt from underneath of them on top of them and getting them as pretty as you want them to be. But look at all that dirt that comes off of these things. There is a lot caked on, and that's just in the front. So as I move down the system and chase these wires, these things will just get nicer and nicer as I go. And like I said, by the time I'm done, these things will be nice bright blue wires and they'll look brand new, like they just came out of the box. Here's a closer shot of the spark plug wires getting cleaned. So you can see already how much nicer they look. They're all bright blue. The letters are starting to show through. So here's a big dirty spot on one of them. And just applying that cleaning solution, whatever you use. Look at this, how dirty that is. You'll take it right off those wires. And man, they really stand out because they're the first colored thing in the motor. So you see these big blue, nice wires, vibrant colors. Look at all that dirt. So in this section, I'm cleaning the coolant reservoir tank with a Mr. Clean sponge and the LA's Totally Awesome cleaner. So with the battery removed out of the tray, I have access to this whole tank and can really get it clean. And it is typically hard to clean because of the plastic material that they use for these tanks. So Mr. Clean sponge will get down really deep into the little fine cracks and get all just the nasty stuff that's been caked on there over the years. So you can see it just taking it right off of there and turning the tank white again. Again, I use that Mr. Clean sponge over a rag because a rag isn't going to do it. You're going to have something that's a little more abrasive at the microscopic level to take all of that dirt off of this tank and really make it shine. This part I'm going to clean the oil filler cap with my Aerospace 303 product, so just applying it to the rag and wiping it off of the cap makes it look 1,000 times better. Look how nice that looks. Once I have all the big areas clean with the rag that I can get, I'm going to come back through with the toothbrush and do the fine detailing, getting all the edges and all the creases totally covered with this Aerospace 303 cleaner so that they, one, get clean, and then two, they also start to look like they've been treated and look nice and finished. These are just the vacuum lines. They clean up pretty easy. They shine up really nice when they're done. Just a quick little spray and just wiping them back and forth very gently. You don't want to pull them out from anywhere that they're connected to, and if you do, just reattach them. But they clean up really quick and they look really nice when they're done. Here I'm going to clean the top of the fuse box cover, so as you can see, you can barely read any of the writing just because there's so much dirt and dust caked on top of it. So as I clean it, most of the writing will become visible again. Some of the paint has worn off over the years, so in order to fix this properly, I'm going to have to buy a whole new top cover because this is just painted on. There's no raised lettering to repaint it on there, but they make new covers. You can buy them. They're fairly cheap, or you can find them in a wrecked vehicle. But I'm using the Mr. Clean sponge. There was some black residue on top, almost like somebody had put electrical tape that had melted on it at one point. So I'm getting it off with the Mr. Clean right now, but being very careful because that Mr. Clean sponge will also take the white paint off at a point. So although it helps, it can also destroy your parts too when it's painted. So just be careful and mindful of what you're doing. Again, I'm working on some more vacuum lines, just gently cleaning them, and I'm working up towards the vacuum distribution system. So that's the guy that I'm cleaning right now. And just working my way across the top of it, moving lines if I need them to get in every single square inch of the motor that I can see to get all the dust and dirt out of it. So it's very easy to clean. I'm using the Aerospace 303 product again. And look at all the dirt on that rag that comes out of this thing when I clean it. Just messy, but it also cleans up really nice. It's starting to really shine. You guys can see how different it is just with the first initial clean. Now I'm going to work on cleaning the Brakemaster cylinder reservoir. So it's that big plastic bottle that I'm on right now at the top. So again, the cap has raised lettering on it. So I'll switch over to the toothbrush to get all that area nice and clean and shiny. This master cylinder, it looks like it's a fairly new part, so it's nice and shiny on the metal. You can see it kind of down below there. And the actual plastic reservoir looks fairly new, but the cap itself is dirty, so I'm going to make sure I get that really nice and clean with the toothbrush. Working that Aerospace 303 product down into each little crack and crevice that's there. Get it all nice and shiny and looking good. Now that the first pass on cleaning all the plastic material is complete, I'm going to come back through with the LA's Totally Awesome and clean the inner side of the fenders. So getting all the dust and dirt off of the sheet metal and all of the metal body parts that you can find, just working all that dust off of those parts so we can come back through and wax them and treat them so they don't rust out in the future. And you do this one the same way. You just work your rag through every little nook and cranny that you can find, any kind of exposed sheet metal on the firewall, inside the fenders, just taking all of that dust and dirt off of them. So in this one, I'm just cleaning the top of all the sheet metal that I can find, all of the metal that's on the existing parts. So this component you can see was super dirty. There's little black specks left on it that are just kind of old oil. And to get those, you come back through with your Mr. Clean sponge to get every little single thing off them. That takes all those little nice oil spots off of there. So satisfying, looks nice and shiny. The part almost looks brand new except the sides that haven't been cleaned yet. Obviously those are still dirty and I'm going to have to clean those. Here I am using the toothbrush on that same part, and it has a ton of little areas that I cannot get a rag into, so that's why I'm using this toothbrush to get all this dirt off. You can see it just scrubs it right off, no problem. And I'll come back through with my Aerospace 303 product and wipe off all the dirt and dust that I just shook off of the part. So taking up all that dirt, shining it up, making it look really nice. So using this paint scraper, you can see you just need light pressure, but look at that stuff just fall off of there. Just nasty old power steering buildup with dust mixed into it, and it'll just take it right off of there. So I'm going to go all the way around the unit, try and make sure all this excess debris either gets vacuumed up or falls down to the ground. You try not to get it on these belts. Since I'm going to be doing a lot of work on this engine anyways, I'm not too concerned about it, but I'm still trying to be as careful as possible to not make as much of a mess than I need. So we'll just scrape the rest of this stuff off. That stuff is on there really thick. And come back through with our wire brush real quick, clean it up, and then I'll use a little more of the degreaser again. And it starts to clean up pretty quick. There's still some bumps there, but that's just baked on grease, so with a little extra work it'll take that right off of there. I'm going to remove this air cleaner box just so I can gain more access to the inside fender. There's a lot of spots deep down in there that have a lot of dirt and grime. Usually the air box is fairly easy to get out, so we'll take this part out. Again, don't be afraid to remove parts from your engine. As long as you're taking pictures or a video of what you're doing, it's very easy to get them back into place where they should go.
Now I have all this access to clean all this dust and all the other grime out from the fender well.
So with the airbox removed, I have access to these little AC lines. They're a little hard metal line, and I'm just taking 500 grit sandpaper and removing the buildup from them. And what it'll do is shine these things up. It'll remove all the little black spots that you always see on these lines that have been, in old cars for a while. And once you have sanded them down and removed all the black spots, you can come back through with a mother's polish and make them really shine up.
Here's a great spot to use my little wire brush that I love so much again. So you can see all this just caked on. I'm assuming oil, because that's what's in the area, but you can see just by scrubbing it with this steel brush alone, gets rid of the majority of all this caked on oil and grease and dirt. So you can just go over all those little areas and break it up and clean it off.
So I'm back here at the window washer fluid reservoir, and I'm using my paint pen to touch up the raised areas of the plastic, so you can see basically just repainting how it looked from the factory. And just going down the lines. And this pen, I had it charged a little too much, so you can see some of the paint bleed over the lines and down onto the flat surface. So I'll come back through with the dental picks when the paint has dried and fix those areas. But just slowly taking my time, painting all the numbers, making it really stand out and look like it's brand new. And it's just these little tiny details that really make your engine pop whenever you end up getting it finally cleaned and complete. And if you show your car and you want people to see a nice clean engine, these are the things that really make it stand out from other guys. And these paint pens, you can pick them up at any auto parts store. You can buy it on Amazon. They make them in all sorts of colors and sizes. So if you have different colors in your engine, you can find them in blue and green. Obviously I'm using white, but it looks really nice when it's done. I'll add a link below in the description where you can find these pens. And while you're down there, hit that like button for me. Here I am at the window washer reservoir, and I'm taking the dental picks and scraping the paint off the flat surfaces where it bled over from when I was painting these earlier. So again, this is the fine detailing that makes this stuff really look complete and polished and like it looks brand new again.
The wax that I use to take care of all the metals under the hood is just a Meguiar's cleaner wax, so it will clean, but it also waxes as well. So we did the initial clean, but this will be like a secondary clean and maintain product that will protect all of this metal and paint after I get it applied. So I'll go over it a few times just to make sure there's enough on here, but it takes off a ton of dirt.
Here I'm applying the Meguiar's cleaner wax to the inside fender on the driver's side of the car, and just taking my time trying to get every single piece of sheet metal coated in this stuff that I can, so it's cleaning all of the dirt off of the fender, off of the metal itself, but it's also adding a protective layer of wax, so this stuff will be more resistant to heat and humidity, which is a good thing. And I'm just applying as much as I can, working it down into the material. It may take 3 or 4 coats depending on how often this stuff has been treated to really make it shine, really get that moisture into the paint, into the metal, and just make it look really nice when you're done.
the underside of the hood, I'm going to use my cleaner wax as well. So I'll just go along the entire, I'll use this white rag just so you can see how much dirt's still on this hood. I'm going to do this for the entire bottom of the hood. So that will treat it against the elements, because I don't think this paint's been treated, but look at all that dirt that's still on there. So we'll go along the whole bottom of the hood. It's going to clean it up that much more. A lot of work ahead of me still. I'm getting tired. Day 2 is running long. We might have a day 3 on our hands, but it's going to be worth it in the end. Luckily, I don't have to do this all the time, but I'm really happy with how this is turning out. It looks awesome. So I'm going to get to cleaning this now. It's a nice hot day for this. But you can see how much this wax, first of all, absorbs into the paint, but it also shines this stuff up awesome. It looks so good.
Next, I'm going to use the Meguiar's Ultimate Black product on all the plastics on the engine, and I'll just take this paintbrush, and I use this because it's easy to get it into every single inch of all the plastic pieces. So all you need to do is just put some on any of the plastic, and as you can see, just take your paintbrush and work it into all the little tiny spaces, any little edges, anywhere that needs treated with this material. And I'll let this sit probably for up to a minute to maybe 2 minutes on some of this plastic. It depends on how dried out the plastic is. A lot of this stuff hasn't been treated before. So as I let it sit, it may soak in enough that I'll need to reapply it. So you can see to your right on the timing belt cover, that plastic will need multiple treatments. You can just tell because the plastic's kind of turning white. But as you apply, just let this stuff sit and soak in for a while, and if there's residue left over, you just take a cloth and wipe it all off when you're done. Okay, so this has been sitting for about 2 minutes, and I'm just taking any kind of dry towel and wiping off all the remaining residue of these parts. But look how amazing that looks. It just looks like a brand new part. It looks moisturized. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like a totally new part. That's why I love this section of the cleaning, because everything really starts to stand out. It starts to look new, and all that time and effort you put into all of this cleaning, you really get to see and enjoy what it looks like when it's complete. So here I'm applying more of the Meguiar's Ultimate Black product, and again just painting it on any of the plastic surfaces in the motor. So that includes the upper radiator hose, any of the vacuum lines. I'm putting it on the fan shroud, and right there I'm adding it to my timing belt cover. I actually had to add it 3 times and let it soak for about 2 minutes apiece to the timing belt cover because it was so dry and that material just soaked it up. So you can see how much nicer all that plastic looks. It makes it really stand out and just look nice and shiny and new. It's also, again, hydrating everything, so it will be less prone to cracking and failing in the heat. And this paintbrush works really well to get in every single little tight spot. I'm just soaking every little piece of plastic, as you can see, that I can find. This stuff is great, and it just creates a nice finished look to all these plastic pieces when it's done and it's soaked in and it's all been treated. It's really a nice final finishing touch on the motor. Applying this material is my favorite part of the project because it makes it all look so nice. It just, all these old parts look brand new again, and it just really makes it look like you put a lot of work into it, even though, you know, it like I said, it took about 2.5 days to get this thing totally clean. But if I was just to apply this to a dirty motor, it would have a pretty immediate impact on how the motor looks. It's a really cool product. Now that I've completed cleaning the entire engine, I'm going to reinstall the battery. Okay, with the battery in, that completes the cleaning process for today's video. And man, look at how vibrant the colors are. Everything stands out. The blue spark plug wires really stand out. All the greens, all the blacks. It looks really cool. And look at the comparison. I mean, the old compared to the new, the hood looks clean. It's waxed. All the plastics are taken care of. It really looks like the car itself is just a healthier vehicle, even though we haven't done anything to it other than just clean it. Yeah, really happy with how this turned out. Just the colors, love it.
Okay guys, that is a wrap for today's video. This thing turned out amazing. I can't believe it's the same engine, to be honest with you. It looks so good. It took 8 hours, so it took a lot longer than I had anticipated, but this thing was dirty. I don't know if it had ever been cleaned before, but yeah, it looks great. I'm really happy with it. If you guys like this, hit like, hit subscribe. We got a bunch more videos coming. So with that, see you guys next time.